So today we're going to answer some questions. I get a lot of questions about how to scale in multifamily. A lot of people probably have a portfolio of single family or maybe some multifamily and they want to get into buying the bigger stuff, but they don't know how. And it's always scary. It doesn't matter what level you're at. If you have 8 units and you're looking to buy 100, that seems like a huge jump. Whereas just buying another 8 unit is safe and you know exactly what to do. Or even for myself now, we're at about 70 million, and right now we have 30 some million under contract. So that's the biggest property we bought. It's actually 3 properties. So it'll be the first time we're taking over 3 at once. So it's scary at this level too. And then there'll be a time when you're buying 500 units at once, and that's going to be another step. So at every level, we're going to talk more about getting from either single family into multifamily or small multifamily into bigger stuff. And what I think I get asked the most about, a lot of people have smaller stuff and they look at a 100 unit building and that's what they want to get into, but really have no idea how. So the first question, a lot of people always ask, like, how do you find these off market, or how do you find the deal? The reality is this type of property rarely in a good market goes off market, right? They're going to go through a broker because nobody wants to sell a building. They're not going to sell it on, Kijiji or something like that. They're going to go to a broker. They're going to have a good split on the fee, and he's going to go out to the 10 most qualified people to buy it. So that is where it's a little bit tricky, is how do you get the first one, right? Or how do you get someone to take you serious or at the front of the list, because there's going to be all these people in front of you who have already bought the properties. So I'd say, unless you know owners personally and you can get something off market, I wouldn't go that route. And even to try to find a fair value, doing it privately without anybody in between and just working with the owner. Generally, owners, if they've held a property a long time and they're the type of person who would sell it off market, in my opinion, unless there's a lot wrong with the building and it's going to be hard to sell, they're just going to have an emotional number attached to it, right? When you have a broker in between who's like, hey, here's exactly where the cap rates are in the market, here's what these have sold for recently, it makes it a lot easier. I prefer that. It really does get rid of a lot of the emotion if there's an in-between person. So I can bring up a problem, say, hey, here's what CapEx we need to spend in the next 10 years. That they're wanting this price, but I know I'm going to have to spend this. Can you go back to them? And they can go back and explain it. Whereas if it's me coming at them, they're just like, oh, you don't like the building. And it's an emotional thing. So I think it's usually better to go through a broker. And then it's just establishing those relationships and just having a really good plan in place. So when you do go to a broker, you can just list exactly what you want. So the next one, a lot of people ask if they should partner with somebody or bring in investors or just try to do it all on their own. And that I think really depends. Like for me, I knew we wanted scale. We wanted to scale big. I'd rather own 10% of a $1 billion portfolio than 100% of a $10 million portfolio. So I wanted scale, and I like the idea of it having. I like doing it with people and being able to send out distribution checks every month. That's something I enjoy. So, but for some people, that's not the case. Like if you struggle to make decisions and you're already really worried about the investment, it's just going to compound that if you have partners or investors, right? So if you're happy having a smaller portfolio and you think you can do it on your own, real estate is something where you can build up a little bit, wait a while, pull out some equity and get into something bigger, and you can do that over time. But I think if you really want scale and you want to build it into an actual company, you're going to have to take on partners or investors. I always caution people, like, I think, eh, structure it in a way so you can bring in investors and they're not going to have, in my opinion, a big say in how the business is actually ran, because that gets really hard once you start getting 5 or 10 people and they all have an opinion on what you should be doing. And we see that one of the properties we're buying right now, they had 10 partners and they had to sign like a special clause that they had to get one of the partners on board. All other 9 like loved the deal, they wanted to sell it, and this one guy's just really difficult to work with. So if you want to partner where, like, hey, you're both working partners and you're building a company together, that's a different situation. And I think that's important. That can work really well. I'm lucky enough to have that partner as my wife. So I'm the vision and can find the deals and the big picture. And she's, implementing process and likes the more day-to-day stuff, which I'm not good at. So if you can find that partner that works, that can work as well. And the third thing is how, when to hire somebody or how to hire a team to scale and what that should look like. And I think that's very dependent on the skill set you have. So I think similar to how I talked about with partners, having someone that has the opposite skill set, because if you're just two vision people, nobody's going to be implementing process. It's not going to work. And if you're two really analytical people, there's going to be no vision there. You're going to overthink everything, and you're going to, there'll be no ideas bouncing around. So you have to find what works and what your skill set is. Like some people, when we started out, it was a lot more of the hands-on stuff. I was good at the buying and doing deals, but we also did a lot of the renovations and stuff ourselves. And that was something just I came from that background, so we knew how to do it. Some people aren't. They're going to come from a white collar background. They're going to know nothing about the renovation side. So you're going to hire someone who's really strong on operations and on the maintenance side and build a team out that way. But a lot of people don't like the idea of hiring staff and dealing with employees. I think it's something, that can be learned and you can enjoy, but you have to pick the people accordingly and pick people that can fill in for your strengths. I'm in a business group and we did a really cool experiment. They got us all to do like a strength builder test to find out where your strengths and weaknesses were. And as a boss and even a father with my kids, I always you work on the weaknesses of someone. So with my son, he's super smart at math. He's not good at reading and writing. So we spend all of our time focused on that. And the lady who did this presentation kind of told us the exact opposite. She said, you if and the example she used was she got us all to write a sentence on a piece of paper 10 times or as many times as we could in a minute. And she said, "Now that you know the exercise, let's do it again and see if you can beat it." So everyone goes to start, and she said, "But I want you to use your other hand." So then we all had to use our not our dominant hand, and obviously you have all these feelings. It's frustrating, and like I couldn't even read it, and you're embarrassed, and all these things. And the point of that exercise was to she's like, when somebody's really not good at something and is good at something else, if you spend all the time on what they're not good at, they're gonna have all those emotions, right? It's gonna be, "I don't like doing this, I'm not passionate about it," and I've seen that in my own life, and it did change the way I think about things where, maybe you do focus more on somebody's strength. If it's something they're passionate about, they're gonna wanna work longer and harder and do all those things, and if you're just focusing on the weaknesses and trying to improve them, that's not enjoyable, and they're not gonna be passionate about it. So it was just a cool little experiment for having employees, and I think it's the same with you when you're trying to build out a team. If you're really, really strong at something and you just hate, like for me, I love the idea. I like putting process, saying, "Hey, here's what we need. Here's a system we need to build." But as far as actually doing it, I just get drained. I'm not the guy to do it. I can't sit through it. And so I have to have someone that can do that, right? If I just spent all of my time trying to do it, we wouldn't have grown. We'd be very slow. I would hate what I do, and I wouldn't be spending all of my time on trying to grow the company, which is what I'm passionate about. So I think finding people who can fill those voids. I meet lots of people who are getting into real estate that are really, really analytical, right? And maybe you need someone there who's more on the growth and the vision side that can help you on that side, finding deals and going out and networking and meeting people. Maybe that's not your skill set. So for the first hire, it's finding people to fill in those spots, people who are passionate about the things that you're not. So the three questions that we covered today, which I get asked a lot, are, how do you find deals? Where do you find them? Should you be looking off market? The second one was, should I partner with people or not? Again, that's kind of going to depend on you. And the third thing was, how do you start building out a team, or where do you start, or what do you hire for? So we covered those three things. Hopefully that helps. Thanks a lot for listening this week. We'll see you guys next week.